That's the objective. So hi, everybody. Good evening. Hope all is well. Hope you all are enjoying your very rainy and chilly Tuesday on break. So we are your hosts today. Johnny Hinesley will be joining us in a little bit. But of course, on this slide, you can see who our Solidarity Council members are. So this meeting is brought to you by UFT Solidarity. And before I get started, caucuses. So UFT Solidarity is a caucus, which is part of the United Federation of Teachers, our teachers union. And does anyone know what a caucus is? If you know what a caucus is, feel free to drop the definition in the chat. And we're going to see how well have you guys been paying attention over the past couple of years, a couple months that you've been participating in Solidarity. Does anyone know what a caucus is? And while folks are typing in, we have some gentle reminders, of course. So, please be respectful of the presenters and your fellow participants. Abusive language and conduct is not going to be tolerated. You will be ejected, you'll be thrown out. So please don't make us do this to you. If you have a question or that's of a sensitive nature, the email is here. So feel free to take a screenshot or jot down UFT Solidarity Help, all one word, at googlegroups.com. And this will be where you'll be able to ask us freely if you don't want to share with a bigger group. I see we have some folks in the chat. I see some folks have been defining what a caucus is. So caucus is a group of people get together and talk about stuff. They often vote about stuff. Group of people with the same philosophies. So both Joanne and Testa are actually on the same pack. So we're going to get into, of course, who we are, what is UFT Solidarity, and what is United for Change. So hang tight. So here are our speakers again. So Johnny Hinesley is currently en route, so he'll hopefully be joining us in a little bit. We have myself, Lydia Rilke, I Beth Mejia, Jasmine Testa, and Jay Werner. So it's good to see you all today, and welcome, welcome. We're happy that a lot of you have joined us today on your vacation. All right. So what is UFT Solidarity? So as I said, it's a caucus. So basically, a lot of you already defined it. Basically, it's a political group, people who share the same philosophy, the same ideas about stuff around a political nature. In this case, a union caucus basically is a person who has a set idea or a philosophy of how a union caucus should be run or managed. So we are part of the United Federation of Teachers. So UFT Solidarity is a pro-union group. We know that our UFT can be better, it can be stronger, but we are choosing to stick with our union rather than work against it, because we believe in the power of collective action and collective bargaining. So all our members pay dues, and we are very union proud. So if you go to UFT Solidarity, if you go to solidarityuft.org, you can actually take a look at our website. Of course, to keep things speedy and going along, I just have on the slide here a copy of our About page. So on our About page, you can go find the history of Solidarity, our mission and vision. You can see how we're governed democratically. You can see a list of our folks who are on our leadership council, and you can also then see how to contact us. All right. So this meeting is going to cover both just UFT basics as well as the election. I'm sure if you are on social media, you've probably been seeing a lot of posts about UFT elections, and you may have a lot of questions. So United for Change, which is a coalition, a group of caucuses who have chosen to come together to fight against unity, which is our dominant caucus of the United Federation of Teachers, we've created this handy dandy review guide, which basically talks about UFT basics. That way, in case you don't know certain basic things, you can educate yourself, and you can then educate folks in your school or community. So basically, who's in control of the UFT? Well, Unity Caucus. So the leadership of the UFT is 12 officers. They are called the Administrative Committee, or ADCOM. And the ADCOM consists of Michael Mulgrew, Leroy Barr, Mike Sill, a lot of people that you probably recognize from the UFT emails that you receive. And if you are a delegate or chapter leader, you probably hear their names in the delegate assemblies. If you have attended town halls, you probably heard their names as well. So what is Unity Caucus? So Unity Caucus, so as we know, in the union, there are different political caucuses. They all have different philosophies. Unity Caucus has been in control of our union since 1960, thanks to Al Schenker and Charles Cogan. Norm Scott, who is one of our participants today, can regale us with many stories about Unity Caucus over the decades. And for brevity's sake, you can actually go to his blog, Ed Notes, at Blogspot to actually view some stories from years past. So every 3 years, folks, there is a UFT election, and 2022 is an election year. So Unity has won every single UFT election since the start of our union. And if you've studied history, you kind of know that if a political party or government has been in control for that long of a time, you know there's something really wrong with the system. So several caucuses have chosen to come together to try to change this narrative, to try to take back some power. So our UFT election will officially start on April 8th, which is when ballots will be mailed to your house. Now, in the past, they've been sent to us in gold envelopes. This year, we have no idea what the envelopes will look like yet, because there are lots of changes happening at the American Arbitration Association, which runs union elections for us. And basically, you have from about April 8th to about May 10th, when ballots will be officially counted, to cast your ballot and mail your ballot in. So basically, you have only 3 to 4 weeks to mail your ballot in. Pardon me, I'm just sending folks the Zoom. Okay, so some of you may have a question as to who can vote. So basically, so long as you are a dues paying UFT member currently, or you're in service, or you were retired, you can basically safely vote in the UFT election. So who can vote? So if you're an in-school staff member, if you work in a district office or a unionized charter school at the UFT, if you are a functional chapter, including some private nurses, childcare providers, and of course, if you are retirees. And I know we have a lot of retirees present with us today. Welcome, welcome. Hope you all are willing to support United for Change this UFT cycle, considering all the horrible changes that Unity is proposing to make to your healthcare. So how are votes cast and counted? So of course, you will receive a paper ballot in the mail, and your job is to vote as a slate. So we are encouraging folks to tear off the front page of your ballot and put in big fat X where the United for Change slot is. Don't vote for individuals, because that is rarely counted, and slate votes are really the only vote that counts. So please vote for United for Change. We have a diverse coalition of folks who are independents, Solidarity members, more caucus members, retiree advocate, New Action, basically anybody who is chosen to fight against Michael Mulgrew, who sees the danger in the Unity monopoly. They have all chosen to come together and stick up for democracy and hope and change in our election. So United for Change, of course, basically this is who we are. We are a coalition, we are a diverse group. So folks in United for Change are choosing to maintain their caucus identities. So Jay, Beth, and I are still going to be proud members of UFT Solidarity. That's not going to change. But just for the next couple months, we are going to be working with United for Change Coalition to try to get power back to our UFT membership and take the power away from our elected officials, because they have not had our best interests in mind. They have basically made our rights worse over the past 3 years. And honestly, ask yourself, has your job, has your livelihood gotten any easier, any better in the past 3 years? I think most of us here will probably say that no, it has not. It has either remained stagnant or it has become worse. So for this reason, I hope that you will vote for United for Change. And here is a very quick video that one of our coalition members, Dana Saya, made. And here you actually be able to hear some of the platform points that United for Change members are in support of.
Meet Michael. He's not listening to us.
Meet Camille. She's a classroom teacher with 18 years of UFT chapter leader and delegate experience. Camille says we need a union that will fight for smaller classes and more counselors and staff.
But Michael, he's still not listening to us.
Meet Annie. She's an elementary school teacher. She's a leading unionist and activist. Annie says we need fair pay and full benefits and protections for all UFT members. We need raises that exceed the rate of inflation.
You guessed it. Mike's not listening.
Meet Luli. She's a high school teacher. She is also a UFT delegate. Luli says we must fight to remove private grade from our profession, our livelihood, and our schools. No more retiree and in-service healthcare givebacks.
But Mike refuses to listen.
Meet Rosie. She's an experienced educator, like you. She leads every day. Rosie says we must fight for schools that are fair, just, safe, and controlled by communities and workers. End mayoral control of our schools now.
Michael, why won't you listen?
Meet Sally. She is a New York City educator, just like you. She's union proud, too. Sally and United for Change will fight for a stronger contract and a union that listens to us.
So Camille, Annie, Lily, Sally, and Rosie are our top candidates for the United for Change slate as officers. Additionally, myself, Jay, Jasmine, Beth, Eric, we are also running as candidates with United for Change. A lot of you here are running as candidates for United for Change. And if you see fit, if you would like to celebrate the fact that you are in support of United for Change, give a reaction, either raise your hand, give claps, put an emoji in the chat, celebrate the fact that you are voting United for Change. If you are a member of United for Change, give a heart, give a smiley face. Awesome, Beth. Yay, Jay has confetti. Awesome. Yay. Thumbs up. Woohoo. Hearts and fist pumps. And I'm voting UFC! Exclamation points. Wow. Yay. I love it. So let us continue on. So the meat of this meeting is all about helping folks not only hopefully be inspired to vote for United for Change, but also get some information about how they can fight back against abusive mandates. So in our schools, many of us do not have strong union leadership. Many of us are struggling with abusive administrators, and a lot of us are dealing with Danielson. So folks, we produced this PowerPoint presentation. Excellent. Johnny Hinesley is here. Hi, Johnny. Welcome. All right. So this presentation was originally brought together and put together by Nick Bacon, who was representing New Action Caucus, and Quinn Zanoni, who was representing Solidarity Caucus. Both Nick and Quinn, of course, are also running with UFC as candidates on the executive board. And basically, Nick and Quinn were thinking about, what are some good strategy and techniques that people need to know if you are dealing with an abusive admin. And of course, we know that, what the UFT tells us doesn't always work in reality. So of course, we're hoping that our folks, our membership, will be able to share out, strategies that have worked for them. So I'm actually going to change the settings and actually allow folks to unmute yourself if you would like to add something. So I know we have some really powerful folks here. Norm Scott, we have Harvey Allentuck, we have Jonathan Hinesley here in the chat. We have Kathy Perez as well. So we're looking for folks to share their stories, to inspire folks, and just give folks hope. So we're going to start with the APPR. So this PowerPoint was emailed to you all, so you can actually view the links yourself, and you can always check them out at a later point. We're not going to like open up the links because we know you all have the ability to read on your own time. And of course, if this is irrelevant to you because you're a retiree or you are not in the classroom, you can continue to skip by this. But basically, it's always important to know how you're going to be evaluated, whether you're going to be evaluated via Danielson or by the old SNU system. You need to know it. The UFT has some really good APR complaint cheat sheet. We've been hearing a lot of stories lately of teachers who have been getting good observations, and then the year before they get tenure, they start to see things go in the opposite direction. Myself, that's what happened to me before I got my tenure extended another year. So we also have some other links here. UFT Solidarity actually has some really fantastic resources regarding writing rebuttals. So if you go to solidarityuft.org and you go to our toolkit, so if you take a look here on our solidarityuft.org website, if you go to toolkit, wait for it to load. And if you go to probationary UFT, start here, or you go to tenured UFT, start here, you'll see some really great lists right here that can actually help you figure out and navigate the process. So you can see stuff about grievances, lesson plan unit curriculums, observations, how to, a general survival guide. If you're looking for our toolkit on how to write rebuttals, I actually need to make an edit to our website, but rebuttals can be found right here. And I'm actually going to copy the link and drop it in the chat right here. There you go. All right. So, Johnny, I know you have done many APPR complaints in the past. So, Johnny, would you be willing to maybe talk briefly about what are some strategies that you have used when you have actually filed APPR complaints? Are you available? I guess he's not available. Okay, so does anyone else who is a host have any ideas or any thoughts or any suggestions for folks of how to file a successful APPR complaint, or how to defend yourself against an abusive admin for when it comes to observations? So, Beth, do you want to get started on that?
Sure. Well, hi all. Thank you for coming. I'm trying to get my camera. You cannot. It says I cannot. You have control of my camera. I'm trying to. Lydia. All right.
Right now, Beth.
Let me see. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Beth Mejia. I'm chapter leader at Aviation High School. And the advice I give teachers when they get very ineffectives or developings on their observations, I try to tell them, I do tell them to review how the language the administrator has written, because what's powerful is that if you use the rubric, the actual Danielson rubric, and if you compare to what they write, it's basically what they write is always their opinion, or it's very biased. So what you should be looking for are action words in the writing, and see how that language supports the rating they gave you based on the rubric. So basically, if you could do that and do a rebuttal of everything they write, you have a good possibility of turning that ineffective or developing to an effective. So basically, using the rubric that they use to give us the grade is what I tell teachers to use.
Thank you. Johnny and I have actually had conversations about how to do an APPR complaint in the past, and he just told me that he's in a bit of a dead zone right now. But Johnny said that basically, if you can prove contractually that your administrator has not followed protocol and that they basically violated some kind of contractual issue, basically that is the real key of winning an APPR complaint. And I mean, you may or may not want to file an APPR complaint because you may be thinking to yourself like, okay, why do I want to stick my head out? But if you're up for tenure, if you're trying to aspire to get another position, you might want to really file the APPR complaint, because in the end, the end is like, what's the worst that can happen? You get rejected. But the fact is that you stood for yourself, you fought for yourself, and you're also going to pave the way for others.
Yeah.
So Jay, do you want to add on to anything about the APPR complaints?
I've never had any experience with APPR complaints, fortunately.
But I also like to add, like, when you do the rebuttal of the writing versus the rubric, it's a good way also to communicate with your principal and try to get that grade reverse before you process to an APPR complaint. That way you demonstrate the facts to him, and then you pursue it and you do what you have to do.
Tessa, do you have anything else you want to add?
I've never filed one, but I would definitely agree, like, look for maybe like technicalities. Also, I know with observations, you have to have something said to you verbally within 10 days, and then you have to have your observations back within 30. So if there's some technicality like that, that's always an easy way to, change observation ratings. If you say, well, that one doesn't count because of this or that.
Another thing that we in Solidarity encourage our members to do, it may be a little bit unorthodox, but this is kind of what we've been recommending for folks to do, especially if you work in a school where your admin is a little bit tricky. Have a recording device on you that's really discreet. There are a lot of really good small recording devices like pens, flash drive holders that you can just wear around your neck in a necklace. And if you see your admin come into your room to do a surprise drive-by observation, discreetly start the recording and have the recording on you. That way, in case it gets written up, in case your admin tries to pull something stupid, you can say, well, according to you, I had no children were engaged, but according to my records, according to my understanding, 25 minutes into my lesson observation, when I asked this question, I had Johnny and Sally engage in a discussion about was Napoleon Bonaparte a dictator or a benevolent, enlightened leader? Mm-hmm. So if you show your admin, yo, I'm paying attention too. You're not the only one who's paying attention. I'm on to you. I know what your game is, and I'm going to try to beat you at your own game. Now,
also, when the class is over and the admin and the students leave, take pictures of everything on the smartboard, collect the students' work, take pictures of the students' work. So you have all of that. I filed an APR and I won. Like somebody else said, watch out for technicalities. My principal copied and pasted 2 sections of the observation report. The arbitrator made him throw it out.
Congratulations, Thomas. I'm glad you were successful.
Yep.
There's a question from Christina Vickers.
Yeah, I was actually going to call
Eric, what was that? Eric, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as far as whenever you get observed too, it's a good idea to write an email to that administrator and say, thank you for coming to, observe my class. Here's the full lesson plan, and here's the rest of what was going on during the period. Because so often you'll see, they'll just come in for 10 minutes and write up a whole observation as if what the little bit that they saw is the entire, duration of the lesson. You want to make it clear that there was differentiation and all the parts of the lesson were there. And yeah, just to follow up on what Lydia was saying, don't be afraid to do it. When people file APPR complaints, they often, have positive results, and people are so nervous about like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it. Don't put my name in anything. But the more people do it, the less there is to be afraid of, because, the administrator should be fearful of us that we're all going to pile on them and do APPR complaints. It shouldn't be the other way around. The people are so intimidated that that they're fearful of doing it. It needs to be the reverse of that.
Oh. Can I go ahead and speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, my name is Christina. I'm in a charter school, a unionized charter school. I'm running on the slate for VP of non-DOE, but I had just wanted to piggyback on what was initially said, but a lot of folks already said what I was going to say. So I'm just going to say that people and teachers really need to approach their evaluation with seriousness, because I was guilty of knowing that my evaluation wasn't correct, but just saying I'm not going to read it, or it's too many pages. I don't really care what she thinks anyway. But that was not the approach. And over time, I had to learn I definitely needed to read my evaluation. I learned, like you said, you have to read it along with Danielson. And what's more than that also is just paying attention, like Lydia just said. So in my school, we do have a lot of cases where our administrator is copying and pasting, like someone just mentioned, and making tons of mistakes, definitely not following the protocol. And a lot of people are fearful to have that conversation. But I just want to emphasize, don't be fearful about the conversation. You don't have to approach it in an antagonistic type of way. Just say, this is what I noticed. And then you provide all that evidence that everyone just mentioned, the recording, the tape. Remember, these admin are probably doing evaluations all day, and we can't give them the benefit of the doubt that they're really studying your situation so that they can give you accurate information. My administrator is never in my classroom except for evaluation. So I just wanted to reiterate, like, you really have to take it as a serious process. But when you go in with the administrator, it doesn't have to be a fight. If you're fearful, it can be well, these are the things that I noticed. Can you change these points? And then it may calculate, to an effective. That's all I want to add.
Thank you. All right, guys, unfortunately, we have to get moving on to abusive admins. So this kind of ties into a big conversation that a lot of folks are having. So hold on. All right, guys. So let us continue. Let me share my screen again and let us move on. All right. So abusive admin. So we've all dealt with them. We've all dealt with admin who are anything but reasonable. So these are general suggestions that, of course, the UFT recommends. Now, of course, all these things are good and dandy if you have a supportive district rep, if you have a supportive admin. But if there's, I know Kathy, you are in the Zoom. So Kathy, if you're here, just raise your hand and I will unmute you. What are some strategies that you have used to deal with an abusive admin? Because Kathy has dealt with it a lot.
Can you hear me? I unmuted.
Wonderful. Yes, go for it.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you are dealing with an abusive admin, okay, there's a couple of things that you need to do. First of all, it's going to be a lot of work, but it will pay off in the end. What I would suggest that you do is, as was said before, New York is a one-party recording state, which means you can record any conversation as long as one person in the conversation knows that it's being recorded. That person will be you. Now, I was dealing with an abusive administrator that actually figured out that I was recording stuff. So she would make the secretary take my phone before I went into a meeting. And that was fine because my recording device was actually in my pen. So please, here, take my phone. Have a great time. So that was one thing. So you are able to do this. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to feel guilty about it. It's a great way, even, it's a great way of keeping track of what was actually said, because even if you want to write an incident report, write anything down, you can always transcribe the recording. So you never have to worry about that. The other thing is, what I would suggest, if you have an abusive administrator, get a notebook, get a file, make yourself a document for recording, and keep a day-to-day timeline of what happens. Go back as far as you can. And even if you can't remember exact date, it might be the week after spring break or the day after the big snowstorm, anything like that, go back. Because the further back you can go, the more of a pattern you can establish. And the pattern is what you can use to make a case for hostile work environment, discrimination, abuse, anything like that. And this is the reason why I'm running, okay, for executive board. The reason is that we need to forget that we're teachers. We need to forget that it's schools and kids. Forget that for a second and understand that this school is nothing but our workplace. No one should be abused in their workplace. No one should have to worry about a student beating them in their workplace, or an administrator saying something in their workplace that sets them up for a career loss. That's the thing. We need to forget for a minute. And I know that sounds awful because we work with children, but put that emotional blackmail aside for just a minute and understand that this school is a workplace, and you do not give away your OSHA rights. You don't give away your human rights, and you don't give away your dignity because you work in a school building. I came from a $90 billion company. I never was expected to be treated like trash. I was never expected to take verbal abuse every day. And we need to stand up and understand that, yes, we're schools, they're kids. It's all of this wonderful stuff, and we do a lot of great stuff. But at the end of the day, this is our workplace, and we need to start acting like it. So you need to document everything, get a notebook, make a timeline. When I fought the UFT, when I fought the DOE, and won, I went back and I just made a timeline back as far as I could remember. And it really helped show a pattern of abuse and escalating abuse. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop in the chat, because I know my time is running out. I'm going to drop into the chat one thing that's also important. There is an online UFT safety incident report. You need to file that, because it gives the UFT a record of what's happening to you. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Save this chat. Every time something happens to you, document it in your notebook or your folder or whatever you have, and then load it to the UFT. The UFT is required to call you within 24 hours and follow up. So make sure that they do that. And I don't want to take any more time, but if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat and I will be more than happy to help you. Thanks, guys, for coming. We really are so happy that you're here today.
Thank you, Kathy. So before Georgia, if you have a question, just drop in the chat, please. And then we can get to you about it. I know James and Camille Turno are present in the meeting. So Camille Turno is our UFC presidential candidate. Her husband, James Turno, is a retired chapter leader and author of the ICE UFT blog. And James is also a candidate with UFC. So James, Camille, would you both like to speak about abusive admin and dealing with abusive admin? Kathy kind of hit the nail on the head, but if you guys have anything to add to it, we're all ears. Okay. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone, and sorry for being a little late today, but I can't add much to what Kathy said, but just to add one little piece. There is safety in numbers, and I know it's hard to get 10 or 15 or 20 people. Ebeth has gotten 20 people to grieve on the Circular 6 stuff with the sixth period. But if you could just start with one other person or two other people who feel the same way and try to get the ball rolling, you'll see that the union will take you seriously as more people get involved. And also your principal will take you more seriously. Of course, fight alone, and if you're at it alone, I know how difficult it is to be in that position. But one of the things about a union is to fight collectively. And the more people you could get involved, usually the better the chance that you'll have of a more successful outcome. And there are things that can be done collectively to stop the abuse. One of them that is not often used is the Article 24 professional conciliation, because contractually we have teachers have a right to teach however we see fit within certain guidelines, of course. But if you disagree with the administration on such things as appraisal methodology or curriculum mandates and things like that, there's a process, and you could get this before the superintendent and get a discussion. The more people that are involved in that process, the better your chance of a positive outcome. And I'd like to say one other thing, you're talking about abusive administrators. The most abusive administrator I know these days, unfortunately, or one of the most, is the president of the UFT, who stifles all debate at UFT delegate meetings, and that's got to stop. And I hope that United for Change can make such an impact in the election that we have Camille in there, and Camille will listen to everybody, not just the people that she agrees with. We don't need an echo chamber. We need a voice. Thanks a lot, Lydia.
Thank you. Georgia, you had a question?
Lydia, it's not a question, it's something to add, because we are, you know, the examples of abusive administrations that you guys deal with and you're mentioning here, and usually that's where we have success. There are administrators that break the rules, or, you know, they say inappropriate things, so they are bad and sloppy. You can have abusive administrators who do not break the rules, really, at least not that obviously. They can get caught, but the data speaks for itself. So we have to be looking at the data. When you have a high turnover in the school, that means something. When the school environment survey reveals, has low levels of trust, and, you know, all those numbers that they're measuring there, that means something. We are talking about observations. There are certain things that the union does not want to touch. And one thing is the inequality in observations from school to school, because the truth is that the majority of the principals do not penalize the teachers through their observations. But then you have Bryant High School, right? And I have brought this to the attention of the union. I have published about it. We did 2 FOIL requests, and we got the data. We are lagging way, way behind the average of the city, the average of the borough, and the average of Lindsay's schools, right? So the same superintendent uses 2 standards when she's supervising her own schools, right? All of this is public. We send it to the DOE, we send it to the union. We didn't go to the media outside of James's blog, but it's out there. They know. We had a meeting with the superintendent. They know. The union does not want to push because they don't want to open the Pandora's box, because the argument of the DOE is that the majority of the principals are narrating with fidelity. But we cannot afford to have a few schools, because anyway, this is being exported now. As a lot of the principals are being replaced, we have a lot more Dwarkas, let's say, people who are more of that style of leadership, more and more in the high schools. And that's the style of leadership that the DOE is celebrating. You know, the chancellor was in the school Friday. And the previous chancellor was there, and he has said publicly that, you know, the principal of this high school is one of the best principals in the city. These are real issues to tackle. Now, to expect, like James said, and that's the attitude of the union, the people inside the school to organize and fight. When we are talking about untenured, most of them, more than half of the staff, untenured, less than 5 years service, it's like you're asking abused spouses to fight the abuser. They need intervention. And we need to have systems in place that they identify abusive environments, and there is investigation and there is intervention. And we have to be pushing for that. Because it's pretty unfair to tell people who have been abused and victimized for years, and all the numbers and the data are there, okay? To tell them that, you know, organize and fight.
Right.
How are they gonna do it? How are they gonna do it? If, with all due respect, you work in a school that has very low turnover, Aviation High School. The people are fairly happy with the principal. A lot of people who escaped Bryant are in aviation right now. And I will tell you names to go look for them, and they can tell you stories. Okay, so when we are talking about administration that is up to a level reasonable, let's say, it's a different story.
Correct.
Thank
So
you,
Camille's on
George.
stack. So Camille, would you like to speak?
Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. I am living proof that if you don't fight against these abusive administrators, they will destroy you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay. I fought for several years against administrators, principals, 2 of them, and really just awfully nasty and aggressive administrators who never really took the time to get to know me, who, because of my union activism, went after me, guns a-blazing. One previous principal told me, "You're always busy saving everybody." Well, who the hell is gonna save you? And my response to her is, just as hard as I fought for everybody and some of these people, she said, "You always save them. I never get to fire them and destroy them. Who's gonna save you?" Well, I fought with everything I could. And I am thankful for the husband that I have, because we spent many nights and early mornings waking up and figuring out different strategies to fight back. And so I know it all too well. So Article 24 is one way you can do it. Another thing that I used too was Special Chancellor Circular number 28, that's 28, which in essence basically says, if you're saying I'm such a lousy teacher, then please, since you have such great command and mastery of how to teach, can you come in and demonstrate it? And I could tell you, when you use Special Circular 28 and ask for a demonstration, most of them take it as a hostile way of approaching the observation process. And I'm here to say, since you're saying that I can't do a good job, stop telling me and show me. As a different style learner who is a visual learner, please show me so I can attempt to emulate and imitate your master in the classroom. That gets them angry, okay? The other thing which is already said here, you cannot be afraid to document. Document, document, document. Make it your mission. You're fighting for your dignity. You're fighting for your livelihood. You're fighting for the kids, because folks, what hurts you hurts our kids. What hurts you hurts the staff. So I understand that there's great fear, because when they saw me fighting, they thought I was a quote unquote troublemaker, a rabble rouser, a dissident, always unhappy. No. When I'm in a place where it's toxic, it's hard to be happy. When every time you turn around, you have to constantly watch your back 5 periods a day. It's physically, mentally, and emotionally draining. So I know the feeling, but you have to document it, and you have to get others on your side. And how do you do that? It's a lot of work to convince people to stand up for themselves. 1 or 2 others have to be willing, night and day. It's a full-time job, folks, in addition to trying to do your lessons. Getting people on your side. Don't be afraid. Again, as one of our sisters said, to use your phone, some type of taping device, because they will lie their little tushies off and say that you are unhinged. To borrow Mogul's words, I was unhinged because I dared to challenge him at the last day, and they want to see you as a crazy, hysterical person. So document. Don't be afraid to use Article 24 of the contract, Special Circular 28, and get others on your side. Because when you're fighting alone, they paint you as the crazy person and they try to make an example out of you. But if you can get one or two other persons to join in, then it's not just your word, it's the point of view of other people and other stories. And then you can start to establish a pattern. In one instance, the administrator, the nasty APO, ended up, because I got 4 secretaries to file, he ended up receiving 4 file letters, one for each of the secretaries that he was harassing and belittling. So that's another thing that they don't tell you. If you push hard enough, and you have the documentation, my remedy wasn't just an apology. My remedy was what was good for the goose is good for the gander. Since we can get nasty observation and nasty file letters, they can get some too. So I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Camille. So I did in the chat, I dropped in a link to our solidarity toolkit. The tenure UFT list is really geared for tenure folks, but if you are untenured, you can definitely use this list as a helpful list of suggestions. James's blog, the ICE UFT blog at Blogspot, is another fantastic resource, and you can actually hear about George's story as well as Camille's story, James's record assisting UFT members as well there. Also, Norm Scott from EdNotes is on this call. So Norm, would you like to introduce yourself to folks? Norm, do you want to, you can introduce yourself if you want. You can unmute if you're able to, because we are in the process of wrapping up.
Come on, Norm.
Norm. Norm is not here. Oh, well, so since Norm is not here, I'm just going to introduce his blog. So Norm Scott is the reason why UFC will be on the ballot as a slate due to his diligence and also due to his activism. I know a few of you know Norm personally, and Norm is just great. A few folks were asking the chat about UFC's platform. So if you go to unitedforchange.vote and you take a look at our issues here, you actually see the full extent of our platform. So this meeting, which mostly focused on the APPR complaint and abusive administrators, really falls under the bucket of fair pay and respect. And you can also make an argument that it also falls into rank and file empowerment as well. But UFC's platform basically has 5 prongs. It also falls into community safety and equity, of course, rank and file empowerment, no corporate interest in education and healthcare, which means that UFC is against the privatization of Medicare, and folks who are currently in service, our healthcare systems are next. So this is a contract year, folks. And remember, there is always a give back. Unity hates using the word give back, but we know they're going to be giving back something to the city because we know Eric Adams is very anti-teacher. So guaranteed, if they're going to take the retirees' healthcare, they're going to be taking our healthcare next. So be wary and be very careful about who you vote for in April, May of this year. We also, of course, have fair pay and respect, paying people what they deserve at a living wage that exceeds the rate of inflation. Also returning respect back. That way we don't have crazy teachers, crazy principals like Amita Dwarka running schools and running good teachers out. And of course, we also have the smaller class size, more counselors and more staff. So folks, again, Christina, I believe, has dropped the link in the chat. Does anyone else have anything additional to say regarding abusive admins, dealing with documenting, dealing with respect, or UFC? Kathy, I saw you had your hand raised. Would you like to make a final point before we close out?
Where's the?
Kathy, you good?
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to just piggyback really quick on the whole situation about taking on abusive administrators and things. And, you know, if I know we're wrapping up and this might be a good place to wrap up, if everyone fights back and if everyone knows the process and everyone follows the process and everyone understands the old union credo that is an owie to one is an owie to all. Like if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And if we can really bring together a union that actually believes that, and everyone follows the process and everyone does the documentation and everyone does the follow through and everyone does what we need to do and files the papers, it gets easier for everyone to do it. And then it also puts administrators on notice that they can't get away with all these things. They count on you being by yourself and afraid to be standing alone. So for United for Change, I saw someone in the chat was saying, well, why should I vote for you? And I will tell you right now that if you vote for United for Change, you will never be standing alone because we are going to make sure that we have your back. And that's all I wanted to say. And I know we're wrapping up. So thanks again for everyone coming out and sticking to the end and for hearing me out. And let's do this.
Yeah, let's win. Let's get out and vote. So folks, remember, your ballots are going to be out in the mail after April 8th. Be on the lookout for a descript, either gold or white envelope. We'll be sending out messages and emails to you all. Tell your colleagues to vote. And folks, please, if you have an immediate question, I know a few of us were reaching out to us independently, so hopefully we'll be able to assist and support you guys with any needs that you might have. If you have a general question, again, our general email is uftsolidarityhelp@googlegroups.com. You can go to our uftsolidarity.org website and click on Toolkit for general supports. Please vote for United for Change. We are the best hope to get our union back to where it needs to be. Remember, we are here together. Everyone you heard from here is a UFC candidate. We are all in the schools. We've all dealt with this shit that you've all dealt with. We understand it. We haven't been totally exempt from the classroom like Moger has for the past 13 years. We've been through it all. Please give us a chance. I bet you have a question. Sorry.
No, someone has their hand up.
Okay.
The iPhone, I don't know.
That's Kathy. That's Kathy.
Oh, sorry, Kathy.
Oh, sorry, I'll take it down. Sorry.
Sorry.
I see lots of emails in the chat. So Jay has put his email in the chat. So if anyone wants to talk with Jay is actually like,
I will.
Jay didn't tell himself. So Jay is actually a former chapter leader in the Bronx.
Larry.
Jay has gone to battle against many abusive administrators in the past.
Hey, I'm in a work meeting right now, but it's so good to see you again.
Sorry, that's Kathy, I'm mute. Okay, so Jay is an amazing chapter leader. Jasmine Tessa has done some amazing work as well in her school. I know John Hinesley is currently a dead zone, but if you need to get in contact with any of us, the UFT help email is the best way to do it. So folks, yes, question, I Beth?
Yeah, also, if you could join United for Change and just join, we could send you emails about the current issues that we're fighting for. Just by going to our website, and you could see right there, it says join to change. And that's it. Thank you for coming.
Join the change so you can get updates on the UFT election and you can inspire your colleagues as well to join us. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
speakers. Thank you,
Thank
guests.
you.
Thank you.
You guys rock.
Woo. And we kept almost everyone to the end. That's the best part.
Yes, we kept almost everybody. Awesome.
Everyone stayed until the end. All right,
Okay,
guys.
guys, I'm gonna go and eat my dinner because I haven't had dinner yet.
Likewise, I'm gonna make dinner.
All
Anyway,
right,
guys,
Same here.
have a good night. Be well.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.
Take care.
Thank you.